If you are thinking about traveling to China this year, do it. If you are in Hong Kong considering traveling across the border to Shenzhen, absolutely cross. It is way easier to travel in China than I thought it would be. Shenzhen itself has driverless taxis, drone deliveries, robot experiences, incredible food, and a city that feels like it is living in the future. As of early 2026, China has expanded its visa-free entry to over 50 countries, allowing eligible ordinary passport holders to enter for up to 30 days for the rest of 2026. But if you are not eligible for visa-free entry, Shenzhen also has a special permit that allows for entry just to Shenzhen. The Shenzhen Special Economic Zone permit allows you to stay within the Shenzhen region without a full China visa for up to 5 days or 10 days if you're on a transit visa. Let's talk about some of the things that I wish that I knew before I went and some of the things you'll want to know so you can prepare for your trip to China. Assuming you're entering visa-free or on a short-term special permit, you can enter China easily. From Hong Kong, there's an express train, or you can just take the MTR. It's common to book trains in China on Trip.com. Trip.com is going to be your friend. There's no advance application needed. When you arrive, you can either fill out a form on one of the machines at the airport, or there's a QR code that you can scan with your phone, complete the form, and you'll receive a QR code. And to be honest, nobody checked my QR code at all. So they must have already had my name and information in the system. I was just scanned through, stamped, and allowed to enter. But before you visit China, you will want to download some apps so that you can use your phone effectively while you're there, because you're going to need it for everything. China runs on two mobile payment apps, Alipay and WeChat Pay. You will want at least one, if not both of these apps on your phone before you arrive in China, because there is no cash transactions. You will not be needing money. You will need to scan QR codes, or people will be scanning your account. Between WeChat Pay and Alipay, they cover literally everything: restaurants, taxis, transit, delivery apps, and shopping. I never once used cash. I would never ask for cash. I didn't even see an ATM. And while I did see individuals, a lot of children walking around with cash, it was still very rare. So 100% you will need either WeChat Pay or Alipay. Personally, I found Alipay easier to set up and use, but that's just personal preference, because WeChat has a messaging system built in, so that in itself makes it more useful in different ways. When you enter a restaurant, you will scan the QR code on the table. In order to order, you scan the QR code on the table, and you scan that with your Alipay or WeChat app. So I'll just show you what mine looks like. If I open my Alipay app, on the top left, there is a thing that says scan, and that scan allows you to scan the QR code, and that brings up the menu. Order anything you want to eat in-app with their in-app translation. It's actually quite easy. And then you'll pay for your entire meal or whatever it is that you're ordering in the app, either through Alipay or WeChat Pay, before you get your meal. There's no human interaction at all. I have heard some criticism from one of my friends who grew up in China, and she said that the problem today is that people don't have to talk to each other. You can essentially go into a restaurant, scan, pay, eat, get everything without ever interacting with someone. You never need to ask for help because you can do all of it on your phone today. And that, in her opinion, was a flaw in Chinese society. But as a foreigner who doesn't speak any Mandarin, I found it so convenient, so easy to navigate, get around, order things. I never felt like I was really struggling to do something. So pros and cons. Inside Alipay, there's also some mini apps like Taobao. You're able to add transit cards, so that in itself made it really useful. And personally, I just found it easier to set up Alipay. But WeChat is also useful because WeChat is a messaging app. With WeChat, you can pay with it, order food through mini apps, book driverless taxis, and communicate. We even used it to check out local events, since you can just search up events. It's a little bit like social media. We used it to search for news articles about events, and there's in-app translation. You could probably get away with just WeChat or just Alipay, but I felt like both of them had their uses, so it was useful to have both on my phone. The important thing that you have to do is set up these apps before you enter China, because to set them up, you're going to need a second verification, like a text message verification from your phone number, and you will not be able to get those while you're in China. So it's going to be a lot more useful to have all of this set up before you arrive. I would consider even testing it if you can locally before you travel to China. WeChat Pay even asked me to verify my ID for payment. Once you're set up, you're going to use the app to pay all of the time. So you'll just open the app in your phone. This is what mine looks like. And on the top, there's scan, pay, receive, transport, and Pocket. To be honest, I never used Pocket once, but Scan would allow you to scan the QR code of a company. Pay Receive, which I don't want to show you, is a QR code that you can use to show to a vendor when they're selling you something and they show you what the bill is. You can show them what your QR code is and they can scan it. And then transport, you do have to set up, you pick a location, and then you need to get a transport card before you can use the transport app. But the same thing is it will allow you to have a QR code so you can scan in when you're entering metro stations. I never took the bus, so I'm assuming it will work exactly the same. We're taking the metro for the first time. For like 10 minutes, we sat outside of the station trying to get our Alipay Metro cards, which gives you like a QR code, and then you just take the QR code and scan your way to walk into the station. And then I guess I'm assuming you just scan your way out. We originally couldn't get the, I don't know, the one that wasn't allowed for foreigners, so then we had to go kind of like do a bit of a workaround. But Alipay has been a really interesting part of visiting China for us, so I'm excited that we were able to get Alipay Metro cards too. And you can actually book trains. So if you didn't want to use Trip.com to book trains, you can also do that in Alipay. Under transport, you're going to click 12306 and we'll open up some train ticket options. My app is mostly in English. So although there are parts of it that are not in English, most of the things that you do need are all in English. Like here I can see I can search train tickets from Beijing to Shanghai. WeChat is a little bit more of a messaging app, so I did find it a little bit less intuitive to use. When you open the app, you want to go to yourself and then click Pay and Services, and that will bring you up to kind of the wallet. Again, you can just scan to pay, or you can have others scan your QR code, so it is very similar. Most of the time, my account would ask for PINs to confirm payments. So if I was paying for a meal at a restaurant, and that would be after I arrived at the restaurant, scanned the QR code, picked the food that I wanted with in-app translation, and then paid on it through the app, my Alipay or WeChat would both ask me for a PIN that I had set up to confirm the payments. And they tell you specifically not to show anybody your QR code or your transit code. I did try to make a screenshot of my transit card QR code, and it said specifically not to share it with anybody. So that is something that you should know. But I felt it was pretty seamless to use, and I never had any issues. Aside from Alipay and WeChat, there are a few more apps that you will want to download because they're going to be useful for you on your trip. The first one absolutely is that you're going to need a map app. And I really liked Amap. It is a map app, sort of similar to Google Maps. It will show you transit directions, car directions, walking directions. What's so great about it is you can even pick it for shade seeking. So it will find you shaded areas and will tell you what kind of shade that you're getting. Like if it's shade from buildings, shade from trees. So it'll keep you in the shade if you want when you're walking. But the app is very useful, and it even in the app has a like car share service. I never used it in the app, but it's really similar to an app called Didi, which leads me to the next app that you absolutely need is an app called Didi. Didi is a car share app. I was able to use Didi also in Hong Kong, so I personally found the app useful. I set that one up again outside of China so that I could set up my credit card and have a second verification to use the card. It is so easy to use. There are a variety of cars that you can pick. So you can pick the different car types that you want, like taxis, private cars, you know, a larger car if you have a bigger group. So Amap, absolutely. Didi is the other app that I would recommend you use. You know, just when you arrive from a train station or from the airport, like you can take the train. Absolutely, it's very doable. The big thing that you should know is a lot of train stations are very large and they don't always have elevators or escalators. So for me, I just think it's a little bit less convenient if you have a big bag that you're rolling with you to take the train versus just taking a private car like a Didi. This is a train station. Everything about this place is like the future of tech. At times, some of the metro stations that we were in felt like being inside an airport. Super clean and large. And there's even a station in Shenzhen that reportedly cost over $1 billion to build. There's bathrooms and amenities like baby changing stations.
It's literally just a changing room in the middle of a train station.
If you are taking the train, be sure to know what exit you want to get off at. Amap will tell you which exit. They'll be lettered. So exit A, exit B, exit C. But sometimes there's exit F and G and you don't know where they are and they are very far. So be sure to get off at the right exit. Otherwise, you will be walking for a while trying to get to where you want to go. Something that you should know is none of the drivers that I ever encountered spoke any English. It's not an issue at all since the app itself is a little bit like Uber. You just put in where you want to go and it takes you there, and the entire payment and everything is done in app, so you don't really need to worry about it at all. But if you're looking for, someone to chat with, someone who's going to speak English, it's not on Didi. And speaking of, you will absolutely need an app for translation. So either Google Translate, but make sure to download Mandarin in advance since Google doesn't work everywhere. And if you have a local China SIM, the app might not open at all unless you run a VPN on your phone. The option that I was told locally that I really liked is called Baidu Translate. Baidu shows the speaking history, which is something that I really like because something I've noticed on Google Translate is you'll say something, it'll show you the translation, and then when you replace it, the entire thing is gone. But Baidu Translate sort of shows it like a chat history of what the other person has said and what you're saying and how to respond. This is the app. It'll say auto language in English, but the app in itself is mostly in Chinese. The one that I would use all the time is a button called Voice. Voice opens up the option for you to speak and then for the person to speak back at you. And I found the translations were so quick and in real time. So you can see here, this is a chat history of someone I talked to. It says, I said, will there be a robot show later today outside? And then they gave me some information saying you can register as a member for free. And I'll say like, how do I register? That kind of thing. I personally thought that the app was very useful, but if you are used to using Google Translate, just make sure to download the language pack and you should be okay. If you do plan to get food delivery, Meituan is the app that you're going to want. If you want to use Meituan, you will need a local phone number. So you need to get a China SIM in your phone so that you can use the app, since they do require a phone number for deliveries. Meituan is the same platform that I used for a drone delivery at Talent Park. And I didn't have the app Meituan. I did the whole thing through WeChat. So I scanned the QR code in my WeChat, opened the Meituan mini app in WeChat, made my entire order, and then just paid with WeChat Pay. So it is possible that you can use Meituan without downloading the Meituan app, but I did encounter the problem where I needed a local phone number. I used somebody else's phone number for my delivery, so as long as you have access to one phone number, you're going to be okay for the delivery. I do think that if you're having someone deliver to your hotel or condo or wherever you're staying, that it would be useful to have a phone number just in case there are any delivery issues, someone can get in touch with you. And then the last one is Dianping, which I wouldn't say is a must-have app, but I discovered it while I was in China. And it's an app that offers like discounts to local shops nearby. It's kind of like Yelp and Groupon together. So it'll tell you about coffee shops, bubble tea shops, restaurants nearby, and then it'll offer discounts to those restaurants in the app. So as long as you make the payment and purchase in Dianping the app, you can get, a small discount, maybe somewhere between 20 and 40% off on milk teas and food at restaurants. I mainly used this for milk tea orders. So I would just order to the places near me, but it would kind of alert me as I went along, like, oh, there's a place nearby with discounts that you might be interested in. So Dianping is a fun app. I wouldn't say it's required, but was very useful while I was there. And then two websites that I wouldn't say are apps, but that you might want to consider while you're there are Trip.com. Trip.com is so useful for booking trains, and you're able to book activities, theme park tickets, that kind of thing on Trip.com. And then the other website you should consider is Klook. Klook is more of an activities middleman app. So on Klook is where I booked a visit to a 24-hour spa, but there's a lot of things on Klook that you can book. We also booked a visit to a theme park, and essentially our ticket included a free costume rental while we were inside the theme park. Both Trip.com and Klook are essentially going to give you a QR code once you make your purchase. So if you show up to, whatever you've bought your ticket to, the attraction or the train, all you're gonna do is show your QR code, and that's what you're gonna need to get onto the train or event or whatever it is that you've booked. So you're going to want to make sure that your internet and phone access is good, and you never want your phone to die. Luckily, it's very easy for you to charge your phone since there are battery pack rentals everywhere. So if your phone is dying at all, you can easily use a battery pack rental. Most of the time you scan a QR code, pay for it in the app, then take the battery, use it, and when you're done, just return it to the same branded battery rental shop. But now that your phone is charged, you're also going to want to make sure that you have access to the internet. If you get an eSIM that is from outside of China, you won't have any issues with the Great Firewall. You'll probably route to Macau or to another country instead of routing within China. That's what we did, and I found it really useful to be able to use Google, social media, the things that I'm used to using on my phone instead of opening things up and being unable to use them. But if you are there longer or you want to have a local SIM, which would be useful for food deliveries, you are going to find that you can't get onto a lot of the apps that you are used to using, like social media, Google, Maps, things that you're used to will not work because of the firewall. So something you should consider is a VPN for your phone. I did use 2 VPNs on my laptop just because I wanted to test it out and I wasn't sure what was or was not going to work. I found that Proton VPN and Amnesia VPN both worked, but I have heard that the VPNs change all the time. So the problem is the firewall is like a roving system and it's able to catch or make some VPNs active or inactive. So that's something to consider. Again, if you are thinking about using a VPN, set that up before you arrive in China. Good luck downloading that when you're in China. Okay, and now you've got all the apps, it'll be so easy for you to get around. Use Alipay to download a transit card, add that transit card to your phone, and you can use it to use all the metro systems. Didi or AMAP, honestly, and you can get car shares to come pick you up. This is essentially like Uber coming to pick you up for honestly a fraction of the price of Uber if you don't want to take transit. And be sure to look out for, different fun things, because in Shenzhen specifically, we were able to use Pony AI, which was a mini app inside WeChat to order an unmanned car. So there's new and fun things all the time happening in China from what I can tell. The question that I get the most about traveling China is China safe? And China, yes, absolutely, it is safe. You can get everywhere. You can leave things. We visited a shop inside kind of a tech mall, completely open with all of the things that are on sale just out on display and available. And nobody was working there. And when Tom checked with a vendor nearby how we could buy something from the shop, we were told that the person who owned the shop had already gone home, and just to message them on WeChat, and if we wanted to buy something, we could do so by scanning their QR code, getting the amount that they wanted, and just sending them the money. China is safe. It's covered in cameras, but it's absolutely safe. Sometimes when I hear about crimes that are happening and unsolved, I think to myself, like, this wouldn't happen in China. In general, if we did have any issues, people were very friendly and helpful, willing to help us, give us directions, but we were able to do almost everything on our phones and had really no issues getting around, taking transit, taking cars. It was very seamless and easy as long as you could get the directions to where you wanted to go. While traveling, sometimes I do find that we were paying the tourist price. We're paying a little bit more, there's an inflated price for foreigners in a certain area, and I did not find that to be true in China at all. Mostly because the prices are already on apps. But I will say, one night, very late after we left the spa, one of the taxi drivers did try to tell Tom that the price of the taxi was higher because it was Spring Festival. Taxis, so you know, are legally required to use meters in China. I do think that this might just be a taxi driver situation all around the world instead of a China issue, but just something to know. In that situation, we just used Didi. We already knew the price and we were using Didi anyways, and we were waiting for our Didi when this taxi driver approached us. So I don't think it's a huge issue as long as you know what to look out for. In terms of the language barrier, I did find it to be mostly an issue for interactions. I used Baidu Translate and Google Translate a lot. I learned the word for this one, zhiga, and I would just sort of point at things, like if I wanted something, I'd say like zhiga, he zhiga, he zhiga. But honestly, I do wish that I had learned more Mandarin before I went to China. It would have been so much more helpful. In general, I did feel that the people that I interacted with, which was mostly people who worked in shops, working in touristy areas, probably more used to interacting with foreign tourists, were willing and happy to use a translation app to interact with me. So I didn't find it to be a problem. So that's everything that I wish I knew about visiting China before I visited China. You will have the best time if you download the apps. Everything is seamless. I honestly felt kind of spoiled by how efficient everything was.